Velvet sits. Velvet sits.
Yo, the velvet rope inside the club is just the first one. There's another that divides the floor from where they sit and don't bother to look back at the general admission and the movement because the couch is softer and the bottle is an improvement. Eddie watches from the bar, been watching for an hour. He said the section is not about the money or the power, it's about the feeling that the night was built around you specifically. And he understand the feeling though he's never been there officially.
Velvet section, concrete soul. The city built this tension before the club existed. It just found a new dimension.
In the VIP rope and the table with the sparkler and the people on the outside pressing tighter and darker. Roach piano when the mix plays equally for everyone. It doesn't know the difference between the section and the general run. A body's on the floor, the music is the great democratizer, and the move bass underneath it all is the great equalizer. But the section exists and Eddie watches and he catalogs the way the experience divides into two separate dialogues happening simultaneously in the same building, same speaker. One dialogue says we arrived, the other says we're deeper than arrival. We belong to something that requires no velvet. We belong to the frequency of West Side, and we felt it in every parking lot, in every warehouse, in every corner. And Eddie orders one more drink and tips the bartender shorter.
Velvet section, concrete soul.
Both true, neither absolute.
The city holds them both away.
The boulevard holds dispute between the version that it was and what it's slowly becoming. And the G-funk in the speakers is the only thing still humming through the gap. Not a metaphor, it's a zip code with a pulse. Every street sign is a chapter in a testament that results from 40 years of being misread by the ones who wrote the narrative. They made it into shorthand, we made it into a declarative. Deshaun grew up on Wilmington, just south of the 91. Said the city is the classroom, you either learn, you come undone. He graduated in the school that doesn't issue any diploma, just calluses and context and the view above the coma. Compton Testimony, not written for the press release, written in the asphalt, in the murals, in the grease. All the mechanics' hands on Alameda at 7:30. It is the living record of what made us earthly, not from heaven. The talk box doesn't lie when it sings above the drum machine. It says we built this frequency from nothing but the in-between. Every L4 wobble on the track is a neighborhood speaking. Every move bass note is a generation reaching. They drove through once and locked the doors and called it the area. We live here every Tuesday, we know renaming every carrier of the tradition that the grandmothers laid down in the kitchens and the uncles reinforced on the porches in their positions. Compton Testimony, this is the witness speaking clearly, not for sympathy, not for the headline, just so you hear precisely what the city sounds like when it decides to testify in G-Funk. What the boulevard sounds like at peak hour of the century's trunk. And when the last track plays and all the lowriders go to sleep, the testimony remains embedded in the frequencies deep. In the asphalt, in the chrome, in the synth, lead still vibrating. Compton gave its statement, the West Side is still creating.
Baby, nah. Baby, nah. Pavement Declaration, you can feel it when the bass hit the corner before the car do. We don't announce the arrival,
pavement already knew. Chrome reflects the street light like a mirror for the city. Every block from Crenshaw south got a name and we ain't witty. Darnell threw the first pitch from the stoop on Figueroa. Said they sleep on us like winter, but we never go in coma. West side don't explain itself, it just vibrates through the asphalt. You either feel the freaksy or you standing at the wrong halt. This pavement declaration, every crack signed by a name, every pothole a paragraph in a chapter of the game. We've been here since the city was a blueprint on the table. They built the buildings tall so they could keep us out the fable, but we carved initials in the concrete with our thumbnails. We sent the freaks we down Slauson past the mail trail, and every corner store from Watts to Inglewood is testimony that the West Side wrote its own gospel and it wasn't in the homily. Marcus drive slow on purpose. Every block a sovereign claim. The low rider lean is not aesthetic, it's a declaration of the frame. We don't need a podium. The boulevard is where we preach. Chrome and concrete is the scripture. It is permanently in reach. So when they ask where we from, we don't stutter and we don't fade. We point down the avenue where the base already paid. This is Pavement Declaration. No apology, no translation. Just the West Side speaking loud in its native vibration. Hurry. Breaking up.
The ocean is 3 blocks west, but we can smell it from the dashboard. The salt air mixes with the exhaust and the bass, and the past stored in every mile marker, every overpass shadow, every exit that somebody chose or didn't choose. Pacific Ave is the transcript, or didn't choose. Pacific Ave is the transcript.
Pacific Ave at midnight, it's a very specific cathedral. The steeple is the overpass, the pews are every vehicle. The rumble is the overpass, the pews are every vehicle. That rolls past with the windows down and the synth pad in the speakers. That rolls past with the windows down and the synth pad in the speakers. Drifting out to meet the ocean and the evening and the seekers.
Midnight and the traffic thins, but the frequency doesn't. The city keeps transmitting, doesn't. Lisa's restaurant closed at 10, but the light above the door is still burning. Like she knew that someone would drive past at midnight. Still the grammar. Every block this teaches a sentence in the language of the asphalt stammer. And the city speaks in whisper here, not like Crenshaw where it shouts. Pacific Ave at midnight is where the West Side works things out.
The synth pad holds a note that sounds like something almost holy. The deep bass pulse below, it moves like tidal, slow and lowly. And the fog comes in from the water like it's trying to listen to the frequency we're putting in the air without permission.
Pacific Ave at midnight, we don't need a destination. The drive itself is where the West Side holds its meditation. And when we circle back and pull up to the block before the dawn breaks, we carry what the avenue gave us, quiet like a heartache.
Quiet like a heartache.
If the chrome could speak, it would say we have been faithful to the asphalt. If the boulevard could testify, it would say they never moved a half halt. This is the benediction, not a goodbye, not a handshake. This is the West Side blessing you before the morning is awake. We rode every stretch from Compton up through Inglewood to Crenshaw. We held the frequency in every corridor that left a fresh jaw. Drop because the G-Funk hit different when the night air carries it. And the LFO synth lead is the West Side's permanent merit. Chrome Benediction. May your system hit without apology. May your stance be low enough to study the city's geology. May every slow roll down the boulevard teach you something specific about the people who were here before the city turned terrific. May the talk box in your speakers always find the right transmission. May the moon base underneath your drive always hold its position. May the vinyl scratch that opens every track remind you of the lineage. And may the West Side frequency run permanent through your drainage. Through your drainage, through your drainage, through your drainage. Still on Figaro, Marcus is still driving slow. Ivana still watches from the laundromat window in the glow. Raymond still holds the corner on the block that doesn't need permission. Calvin still polishes the chrome like it's a spirit decision. And all of us together on the boulevard at midnight hold the frequency that built the city from the type. Squeeze between the ocean and the heat and the intention of a West Side that decided it would never seek exemption. Chrome Benediction, the album ends but the boulevard doesn't. The bass line keeps on playing even when the listener isn't. And somewhere on Pacific Ave or Whittier Drive or Crenshaw, the G-Funk keeps transmitting the testimony in the fresh raw. Acknowledgement that we were here, not passing through, not visiting. The chrome and concrete of Los Angeles is our christening. And the benediction from the boulevard is simple and specific. Come back, the West Side frequency is permanent and prolific.
Red light on Crenshaw, and the city holds its breath for a second. The bass from the trunk is the only clock that ever reckoned. Smoke curls out the window like a question with no answer. And the boulevard sits still like a very patient dancer. Yvonne watches from the laundromat window, third night running. She says the lowriders move like they own the hours and they're winning. Maybe they do, maybe the city gives itself to whoever stays the longest. And we have stayed so long that our shadows grew the strongest. Smoke signal at Crenshaw, we've been sending it for decades. They read it as a warning, we wrote it as a serenade. Every tail light blinking is a word in the transmission. Every slow roll down the strip is a line in the petition. We didn't file it with the city, we carved it in the frequency. In the synth pad that expands above the rooftops has the decency to hold the message longer than a press release or a motion. The West Side speaks in bass and smoke and slow moving devotion. Smoke signal at Crenshaw, we've been sending it for decades. They read it as a warning, we wrote it as a serenade. Every tail light blinking is a word in the transmission. Every slow roll down the strip is a line in the petition. We carved it in the frequency. The West Side speaks in bass. The West Side speaks in bass. Green light and the procession moves like water through through the canyon exhales and every car becomes companion. This ain't traffic, this is ceremony without a congregation. This is smoke signal and communication. When the morning comes and all the lowriders are resting, the asphalt still remembers every vibration from the blessing. We left our frequency embedded in the concrete, and anyone who reads the city right will find us in that layer. p.m. and the boulevard shifts into something different. The valet takes the keys and the city gets more insistent about its own mythology. The neon rewrites the shadows, and every entrance line is a test of who the evening follows. Durham works the rope on Friday, 3 years running. He said, I see everything from here, the approach and the fronting. The ones who walk slow on purpose, and the ones who truly belong, and the ones who rehearse their entrance in the mirror all along. The rope drops at 11, and the bass line takes the lobby. Every head turns like the frequency itself is somebody, and the talk box in the system says the night is now official. The LFO simply maps the room, directional, judicial. The night is now official. We came dressed in the intention of the West Side after dark. Came dressed in the intention of the West Side after dark. Not to perform for anyone, to occupy the spark that lives inside the corner where the speaker hits the hardest, and the G-funk in the system is the only thing we started. The rope drops at 11, and the city holds a different grammar. Every syllable of bass is like a carpenter with hammer, building something temporary that will matter more than permanent, because tomorrow all of this is just a story. But right now it's urgent. Right now it's urgent. Drum nods once and steps aside, and the night begins for real. And the club swallows us like it already knew exactly how we feel. The rope drops at 11, and from here the only exit is the other side of midnight, where the dawn waits to collect it. Door swings out and the city comes in, cold and wide, and the bass from the building follows us like it can't decide whether to stay inside or come with us into the evening. And the sidewalk at 3 a.m. is doing its own breathing. The street is quieter than we thought, just dust of blocks that stretch toward something with no specific insistence on arriving anywhere, just existing in the open after hours of being held inside by bass and smoke and motion. 3 o'clock sidewalk, the city in its honest congregation. No performance, no arrival, just the raw illumination of street lights on the faces of everyone who's exiting, and the club bass still vibrating in the sternum and the listening. Renee stands at the curb and tilts her head back toward the sky. She said 3 a.m. in lie is the most specific kind of high, not from anything, just from the night giving back the air, and the synth pad from the speakers still surrounding everywhere. The deep bass pulse inside the building bleeds out through the walls and mixes with the city hum. The traffic signal calls at empty intersections, the palm trees in the distance, and the fog that came from the Pacific with its insistence. 3 o'clock sidewalk, we stand between the night that was and the morning that is calculating what comes after the pause of walking out into the air and finding that the city held our place out here with all its ordinary gritty frequency intact, and the synth pad in the atmosphere is just the G-funk we've been breathing all these years in here. The sidewalk at 3 a.m. belongs to everyone who stayed until the last song and walked out into what the night has made. No sign on the building, just a number and a loading dock. You find it by the bass frequency coming through the block. At 1:30 when everywhere else has given last call, the warehouse on Alameda is just hitting its back wall. Carla drove from Culver City for the 3rd time this month. She said, the club's on Sunset, close to clean. I need the grunt of a room that doesn't care about its permit or its lighting. And the warehouse on Alameda had a different kind of inviting. Warehouse on Alameda, the synth pad hangs above the rafters like fog that came inside and decided to come after something it could hold. The ceiling is too high to measure, and the base below the concrete is the floor's hidden treasure. Warehouse on Alameda, the synth pad hangs above the rafters like fog that came inside and decided to come after something it could hold. The ceiling is too high to measure, and the base below the concrete is the floor's hidden treasure. They don't announce the lineup, and they don't sell early entry. The only door is guarded by the base, and you're welcome plenty. If you found the address through a channel that required patience, then the warehouse recognized you by your frequency gradations. The deep sustained and bass pulse heals geological. It comes from somewhere older than the building metaphorical, or maybe literal. The land beneath the warehouse has a memory, and the G-funk in the speakers is the frequency of ceremony. Warehouse on Alameda, 3 approaches quietly and the crowd inside has settled into movement very slightly. Different from the clubs, more honest, less performance, just bodies in the frequency finding their accordance. Warehouse on Alameda, 3 approaches quietly and the crowd inside has settled into movement very slightly. Different from the clubs, more honest, less performance, just bodies in the frequency finding their accordance. Just bodies in the frequency finding their accordance. Warehouse on Alameda. The DJ don't announce himself, the bass does the introduction, and the room responds before the mind can process the instruction. 500 bodies shift direction like a single orgasm. When the talk box opens up and hits the room like a prism, splitting everything into the frequency it came from. Bass separates the walls from the sound that keeps the flames from dying in a room that runs on electricity and intention, and the Elfo synth lead is the sermon for ascension. When the DJ speaks, the floor becomes a different country. Everyone inside it is a citizen. The entry to this sovereignty is just a readiness to move. When the moog bass in the subwoofer redrows every groove. DJ Marcus, they call him the architect of Fridays. He reads the room like Braille, he knows the temperature of sideways. Glances in the inner shoulder starting to unlock, and he builds the set like scaffolding around the city block. When the DJ speaks, there is no argument or counter. He drops the hook at midnight, and the crowd becomes a fountain. A release of every word they never commute, absorbed, and the G-funk in the system is the unanimous accord. When the DJ speaks, the floor becomes a different country. Everyone inside it is a citizen. The entry to this sovereignty is just a readiness to move. When the mood bass in the subwoofer draws every groove. 3 records deep in Marcus has the room in his possession, not by force, by frequency. The most persuasive expression of the West Side After Dark is not a shout or a demand. It is a perfect bass transition executed by his hand. When the DJ speaks, the neon seems to synchronize his blinking, and the smoke in the Rafters finds a rhythm in his drifting, and the whole club is a single instrument tuned perfectly to the frequency of Friday and the West Side certainty. When the DJ speaks, the floor becomes a different country. Everyone inside it is a citizen. The entry to this sovereignty is just a readiness to move. When the mood bass in the subwoofer draws every groove. That music is not entertainment, it is governance. That the one behind the decks holds the room's deliverance. And when the set ends and the silence has a moment to exist, everyone remembers. Whittier Drive is where I go when I don't want to be translated. Where the palm trees are old enough that they've seen me complicated and simple and in between, and everything the city made me. And the road's piano from the speakers is the only thing that saved me. Pops used to drive this stretch on Sunday after church let out. He said, the best thinking happens when the boulevard's without people. Just you and the asphalt, and the weight of the week receding, and the brass stabs in the air like punctuation marks for breathing. Whittier Drive confession, I ain't come here with a verdict. I came here with the residue of everything I couldn't perfect. Of every conversation that I should have started sooner. Of every exit I drove past when I should have been a tuner. Something better. But the road is not a courtroom. It is not a therapist. It doesn't have a waiting room. It just holds the weight. You bring it without judgment or revision. And the moog bass underneath the drive is steady, no division. And I confess to Whittier Drive the things I can't say facing people. The way the morning felt the week, I realized I wasn't equal to the version of myself I built in younger expectations. Whittier Drive absorbed it all without a single hesitation. Whittier Drive confession, I ain't come here with a verdict. I came here with the residue of everything I couldn't perfect. Of every conversation that I should have started sooner. Of every exit I drove past when I should have been a tuner. Whittier Drive confession, chrome reflecting what I cannot carry. The bass line underneath the drive is the only commentary I needed. Not a sermon, not a lesson, just a frequency that says the West Side holds its own. You're not alone in the residency. On the 110 south, heading nowhere specific. The freeway opens up like it's been waiting. Almost Pacific, no carpool, no construction. Just the headlights and the asphalt. And the city laid out west and east like a question and result. The overpass pillars move past like the pages of a chapter. And the synth pad in the speakers fills the space between the rapture of moving through the city when the city lets its guard completely down. And the freeway breathes, you can feel the intake from the crown. The freeway breathes, it has a rhythm of its own at 3. It exhales the commuters and inhales the ones who drive to be free. Not to arrive, just to be in motion in the dark and wide. This is where the city processes itself on the inside. Jean Div drives this stretch on Thursdays after her shift closes. She said the 110 knows me. It never judges the doses of miles I put in just to feel the city give me permission. The slow synth wash above is what it thinks when the world's a mission. The deep bass pulse below the synth pad is the freeway's heartbeat. The slow synth wash above is what it thinks when the world's asleep. And somewhere in the distance, the downtown lights still pulse and shimmer, like the city dreaming of itself in something slightly dimmer. The freeway breathes, this is the most honest I will lay. When the performance drops and only the real city stays. The chrome on the guardrail catches headlight for a passing instant. And the west side is both close and impossibly distant. Has been up in the rafters since before we arrived. It knows the room better than the staff. It has been inside every corner where the bass pulls and every pocket of the ceiling. The smoke is the memory of every Friday with its feeling. Anita moves through the crowd like she belongs to the architecture. She said the club is just a building till the music makes it scripture. And the Rhodes piano in the mix is the warmest thing in here. Softer than the neon and more honest than the atmosphere. Smoke in the rafters, the club is breathing through the haze. And the G-funk in the speakers sets the tempo for the maze. Our bodies finding rhythm like they knew each other's timing. And the brass stab cuts the smoke like poaching clean, defining. We don't talk much in here because the bass says everything. And the Rhodes fills up the spaces where the conversation stings. In ordinary rooms, but here the ordinary is suspended. And the smoke above the rafters holds the night that never ended. The Moog bass underneath the mix is foundation and the floor. And the soft brass line above it is the ceiling and the door. To somewhere past the function of a Friday at a club. Somewhere between the music and the reason that we love. Smoke in the rafters, the club is breathing through the haze. And the G-funk in the speakers sets the tempo for the maze. Our bodies finding rhythm like they knew each other's timing. And the brass stab cuts the smoke like poaching clean, defining. Smoke in the rafters, it will settle when the morning comes. But right now it circles, slow above the speakers and the drums. And everyone who's dancing in this building is a particle of something that assembles every weekend like an oracle. The parking lot at 1M is its own sovereign republic. Where the night regroups and the music is still technically public. Bleeding from the walls and bass that won't commit to silence. And the cigarette smoke mingles with the cool air in compliance. Victor leans on the hood of his Regal. Second cigarette. He said, the parking lot is where you figure out if you're done yet. The club is still going, but out here the air gives you perspective. And the synth pad in someone's system is the soundtrack reflective. Parking lot at 1am, everyone here is in transition. Between the version that came out tonight and some other rendition. Of themselves they'll be by 4 or Tuesday or next season. And the bass from the warehouse gives the pause a kind of reason. Two women share a phone and laugh about something specific. Dominique and Renee, the night already been terrific. Before they go back in, they do a slow survey of the lot, like they're taking an inventory of what the evening got. The G-Funk synth pad widens in the air between the vehicles. And when comes it in the parking structure, the dumpster, the palm tree. The G-Funk synth pad widens in the air between is underrated. This is where the night breathes and the intention gets restated. And when Victor stubs the cigarette and heads back toward the entry, the parking lot keeps holding space for whoever needs the sentry. They asked why we ride so low. We said because the ground is ours. They asked why the system's so loud. We said because the silence scars. Every decibel is a statement that we paid for with our patience. And the bass that shakes the mirror is the total of our endurance. Calvin runs the detail shop on Prairie near the tracks. He polishes the chrome so long it gives the street light back. He says, would you take care? Takes care of you in the open. And the smoothest ride down Slousin is the most carefully spoken. Low and loud, that's the physics of the west side operating. Low in the stand so the road knows that we're not vacating. Loud in the frequency so the city can't ignore the signature. We've been putting bass into the concrete like a permanent figure. A permanent figure. A permanent figure. The road's piano floats above the boulevard at evening. The brass stabs cut the air like punctuation, brief and breathing. And underneath it all, the move bass holds the frequency together. Low and loud through summer heat and through the change of weather. And through the change of weather. Tamara said she heard us coming from 2 blocks at Arbor Vitae. She said the bass hit her sternum before the car came into I-line. She smiled because she knew the sound. She grew up on this frequency. The west side raised her on the G-Funk like a mother raises family. Low and loud, that's the physics of the west side operating. Low in the stand it so the road knows that we're not vacating. Loud in the frequency so the city can't ignore the signature. We've been putting bass into the concrete like a permanent figure. A permanent figure. A permanent figure. Low and loud, no explanation needed to the listener. The stance and the system are the biography and the signature. And every slow cruise past the corner is a permanent fixture. Last call is not a goodbye. It's the highest point of the night. The talk box in the system says you got 15 minutes of light. 15 minutes on a Friday in a building full of frequency is not a limitation, it's the maximum intensity. The DJ knows this. Marcus turns the system up a quarter notch. Everybody in the room can feel in the sternum and the watch stops mattering, because the last call is the peak of the permission to exist, completely in the baseline and the mission. Last call decree, issue from the booth behind the speaker wall. And the response from every person in the room is standing tall. In the frequency won't see. Nobody moves for the exit yet, because the night owes us this moment. Because the night owes us this moment and it hasn't paid the debt. Keisha has been waiting for this drop since 10:30. She said the last song always hits different, can't explain what happens to the room when every knows it's the final frequency. And the G-Funk in the system answers back with its urgency, the back with its urgency. The talk box opens wide at the last call's call decree. And the LFO seat maps the ceiling like it's finally free of the restrained. The restrained held through midnight and through 1 and through the 2. Now at last call it deploys the thing it always planned to do. Last call decree, issue from the booth behind the speaker wall. And the response from every person in the room is standing tall. In the frequency won't see. Nobody moves for the exit yet, because the night owes us this moment. Because the night owes us this moment and it hasn't paid the debt. The move bass underneath, it isn't moving to an ending, it's moving to a summit. Every note ascending toward the last 16 bars of the last song of the Friday. And the room gives everything it has, because everything it has, because there is no other day. Last call decree, issue from the booth behind the speaker wall. And the response from every person in the room is standing tall. In the frequency won't see. Nobody moves for the exit yet, because the night owes us this moment. Because the night owes us this moment and it hasn't paid the debt. Last decree, the bouncer holds the door but doesn't rush it. The bartender stops pouring but the music doesn't crush it. Is the most honest any club has ever been emerging into something that the morning can't replicate or borrow. The last call is the proof that there is no specific moment when the west side held the frequency and everyone was ponent of something that assembled in the bass line and the speaker and dissolved back into individuals, each one a keeper of the memory of what the last call felt like at its summit, when the DJ played the final song and everyone became it. Diner on the strip has seen every version of the Friday. The cook knows the order before the menu hits the slideway. Across the booth, eggs and coffee, and the recap of the evening. And the Rhodes piano from the speaker in the corner keeps on breathing. Anita and Victor share a booth that's seen 1,000 free days. The vinyl's cracked, the coffee's strong, the neon light obeys. The tradition of the strip, it stays on for whoever needs it. At 4 a.m. when the night is technically completed. Booth by the window, Sunset Strip, the city moves outside. Slowly occasional headlights, a delivery van stride. Past the window where we sit and put the night to words becomes the verbs. Everything we felt, the bass becomes the verbs. Of conversation at 4 a.m. when honesty arrives. Unprompted, because exhaustion drops the armor and the drives that keep us performing in the hours when the stakes feel higher. The booth at 4am is the most honest kind of fire. The soft brass stab from the speaker sounds like something closing gently, and the moog bass underneath it holds the moment and intently keeps the night alive beyond its technical conclusion, because the diner is the extension of the club's illusion. Booth by the window, Sunset Strip, the city moves outside. Slowly occasional headlights, a delivery van stride past the window where we sit and put the night to words becomes the verse. Everything we felt, the bass becomes the verse. That the night can hold more than the calendar allows it, and we keep ordering coffee because neither one of us avows it's time to go. The booth by the window is the last room of the Friday, and we're not prepared to let it become tomb. Booth by the window, Sunset Strip, the cook refills without asking. He knows the rhythm of the 4am, no need for tasking. And the neon outside pulses, and the city starts to lighten at the very edges where the east be brightened, just slightly. In the city shows a color it reserves for no one. The indigo above the hills before the actual sun runs above the skyline. This is Lasmo's private hour, and the G-funk from the speakers is the last and highest power, because the ocean is the compass, and everything behind us on the strip is now the campus of a night that graduated into morning without warning, and the talk box in the system gives the farewell in the morning. Dawn before the freeway, the boulevard is almost empty. The palm trees stand like sentinels, and there are more than plenty of them between us and the on-ramp that will take us to the ordinary. And we're driving slow on purpose because we're not ready. The LFO synth is the last transmission of the Friday. It maps from Sunset to the freeway's throughway, and somewhere in the frequency between the club and the on-ramp is the version of ourselves that the night built vivid, full damp. Yeah. Jerome is locking up the rope when we drive past the building. Carla's car is gone from Alameda. She was done and willing to let the warehouse hold the night without her as a witness. And the diner on the strip just served his last cup in the thickness. A pre-dawn and the re-dawn, and the city reasons for the daylight. And we are on the boulevard, receiving the most gray light. But it's cold at the very edge, and our memory at the edges, toward the freeway and the ocean, where the night kept all its pledges. Dawn before the freeway, this is not an ending. The night we had is permanent, in the bass still sending signal through our sterney. It's a frequency that drafts you to its thing. Rotation in the warehouse and the diner are the nodes of the transmission, and the west side is the designer. Dawn before the freeway, the on-ramp is a promise that the ordinary holds the Friday in its Thomas. Doubting hours until the next one arrives on Thursday evening, and we start the preparation for the ritual and the breathing. Born to the frequency, baptized by the bass that stung them into something permanent. And dawn before the freeway is the closing benediction of the West Side's Friday, is the closing benediction of the West Side's Friday. Closing benediction. The hydraulics don't jump for the crowd, they jump for the tradition, they jump for the tradition. Every bounce is a verse in a very specific religion. The Reverend has tattoos and a system in the trunk. The Reverend has tattoos and a system in the trunk. And his congregation rolls slow on the pavement like a monk. Hydraulic sermon, every hydraulic is a syllable. The bounce pattern is a paragraph, rhythmical, biblical. We worship at the corner on a T because the spirit won't sit quietly, and the front end lifts because the spirit won't sit quietly. Reverend Anthony, that's what they call him on the block. His 64 Impala, bless the corners on the clock. His 64 Impala, bless the corners on the clock. He said, the chrome is not for vanity, the chrome is for the witness. So the city sees us shining, even when we in our fitness. So the city sees us shining, even when we in our fitness. They get off the block. We said the block is where we congregate. They said lower the volume. We said the bass is how we articulate. And every brass stab from the speakers is an amen. And every slow ride down the strip is where we gather and begin again. Hydraulic sermon, every hydraulic is a syllable. The bounce pattern is a paragraph, rhythmical, biblical. We worship at the corner on a T because the spirit won't sit quietly, and the front end lifts because the spirit won't sit quietly. The Rhodes piano in the background is the choir behind the sermon. The bass note is the floor beneath our feet, steady and affirming. The drum machine keeps time the way a deacon counts the offering. And every head nod from the sidewalk is the pew acknowledging. Hydraulic sermon preached on Firestone and on Avalon. We held the service every Friday when the summer brought the callus on. The congregation came correct, no need for any invitation. Just chrome and concrete and the ritual of West Coast Declaration. Hydraulic sermon. It's 11:47 and the block is still in session. Inglewood don't punch a clock, it operates without concession. The taco spot on Century lit up like it's always been the standard. And the talk box from the speakers sends a signal through the bandwidth. They tried to redevelop us, put condos where the memory was standing. We said the memory is in the frequency. You can't rezone the landing because Inglewood never sleeps. It just changes its delivery. From the BBQ smoke at noon to the baseline at the periphery. Raymond's been on that corner since before the city cared to notice. He said the neighborhood don't need a plan, it already has the focus. Every pothole is a landmark, every mural is a TANSPAP. Inglewood don't need a historian, it is its own film stamp. And when the fog rolls in from the south off the 405 at midnight, the street lights catch the chrome off the 405 at midnight. The street lights catch the chrome and make the low riders look ignite. And we ride slow because the city deserves to be observed in detail. Inglewood never sleeps, and neither does the bass trail. This ain't nostalgia, this is present tense and permanent. Every corner store, every parking lot, every tournament of dominoes and old men watching the neighborhood with patience. is a living document of West Side perseverance and gradations. So when the morning news discovers us and calls it resurgence, we say we never left, you just stopped watching at the surface. Inglewood never sleeps, we've been awake in every frequency, and the G-Funk in the air is just the anthem of our residency.
See, everybody wanna run something, but not everybody built for what comes with it. Regulations, a different kind of weight. I be like the block.
I've been holding down this block since way before the cameras, before the apps, before they mapped out every angle. Long Beach taught me everything got a price. You regulate the block or the block regulates your life. Nate had the harmony, I had the heat. Together we kept the peace between the east and the street. Didn't need a badge, needed presence and a word. Sometimes a word lands harder than anything heard. But lately, the balance got wobbly. Got new faces on the corner with no history of the lobby. Somebody's gotta step in, somebody's gotta say, regulate the block, keep it smooth like Long Beach nights. Regulate the block, cause somebody got to hold the line right. Regulate the block, regulate the block, before the pressure turns to fire. Regulate the block, or the streets call someone higher. Regulate the block. Kevin came through from the east talking numbers, said the operation needed expansion. No summers, I sat back and let him speak his vision, clocked his hesitation. A man who plans like that already got a destination. I gave him the same block speech I give to everyone. This ain't a franchise, this is someone's home, someone's run. You can move through here, but you move with respect, or the block regulates you, and I don't accept that. Regulation ain't threat, it's promise. Ask anyone who was here when the 94 came. They know what I mean when I say, regulate the block. This block got a history. Regulate the block. Names in the concrete, no mystery. Regulate the block, before the peace turns permanent. Regulate the block, or what's coming will be. Nate used to say, you can't regulate grief. All you can do is give grief somewhere to go, so it don't consume the whole block while it burns. I'm not trying to run this forever, but until somebody else can hold the weight of knowing every name, every story, every gate, the block is mine, and the block stays regulated. Regulate, 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 regulate the block. Keep it smooth like Long Beach nights. Regulate the block, cause somebody got to hold the line right. Regulate the block, regulate the block, before the pressure turns to fire. The block remembers who was here and who held the line. It gets lonely regulating something that don't thank you, but the block knows. Regulate, regulate.
They wanted us to stay invisible. We showed up wearing crowns made of smoke. Drowned in smoke. Drowned in smoke. Drowned in smoke. This is what we earned. Drowned in smoke. Drowned in smoke. Drowned in smoke. Yeah, the crown ain't made of gold, it's made of everything they took. Every door with a padlock and a do not enter look. Every application they decline before they read the name. Every court, every classroom, every crooked rigged game. I wore it anyway, asymmetric and unclean. The most legitimate crown is the one nobody seen until the day you walk in rooms that wasn't built for your reflection, and you rearrange the furniture with nothing but intention. They crowned us in smoke, we turned the smoke into signal. Every obstacle they put up became the next pinnacle. Crowned in smoke, rising from the bottom. Crowned in smoke, nothing was forgotten. Crowned in smoke, built from what they burned. Crowned in smoke, this is what we earned. Crowned in smoke, rising from the bottom. Crowned in smoke, nothing was forgotten. Crowned in smoke, built from what they burned. Crowned in smoke, this is what we heard. They burned the documentation, we memorized the protocol. They rewrote the history, we lived inside the vertical. Every statistic built the frame us as the outlier. We moved the frame, rebuilt the game, became the amplifier. Two coasts, two cities, different flavors of the same fight. The East came with the grit, the West came with the street light. But both of us been moving through the same rigged opposition. Both of us been crowned in smoke by the same system's omission. They said the crown would never fit on us. We built a bigger head. Crowned in smoke, rising from the bottom. Crowned in smoke, nothing was forgotten. Crowned in smoke, built from what they burned. Crowned in smoke, we all earned this. They gave us smoke, we taught ourselves to breathe it. Then we started making fire. Crowned in smoke, crowned in smoke, crowned in smoke. This is what we earn. Crowned in smoke, rising from the bottom. Crowned in smoke, nothing was forgotten. Crowned in smoke, built from what they burned. Crowned in smoke, this is what we earn. This is what we earn. Still here, still burning, smoking all.